This clip is brought to you by SaveWithConrad.com.
Let's talk a little bit about your old pal Brock Lesnar. He's had some legal action going back and forth with the WWE, and it looks like it's officially over in favor of Lesnar. Both sides agreed to a settlement a few weeks ago. The final papers were filed on April 24th. The terms of that settlement were sealed, but the gist is he's now eligible to continue to work for New Japan Pro Wrestling, and he's probably going to be going into MMA. That's at least what's hinted in the newsletter. Meltzer was skeptical but optimistic that he would take a stab at MMA. In this era, 2006, are you still in touch with Brock at all? And were you guys ever speaking about A, working in Japan, or B, trying MMA?
Well, Brock did approach me about working with him in Japan, and I ended up going over for NJPW, and I had a match with Brock. We had a phenomenal match over there, and I won the world title from him, the NPW or NJPW, yeah, New Japan Pro Wrestling world title. And Brock, after the match, Brock said, "Hey, when we do the press conference, because they always have huge press conferences before and after the matches." And he said, when you have the press conference and we're sitting up there in front of the press, tell them you want a rematch with me. Well, I didn't know at the time, but I heard Brock was making a ton of money on these matches. Okay. He was remaining champion as long as he could, and then they wanted to take the title off of him. So he wanted to do the match. He wouldn't do it with just anybody. So he told New Japan, if you bring Kurt Angle over, I'll do the job for him. So he brought me over. He did the job for me, and then he wanted to have a rematch because he wanted to make more money. Brock's all about money, and he's a very stern businessman, and everything is revolved around money for him. It's money first, it's passion second.
It's funny that we're talking about him and his approach to the business, because I feel like a lot of fans were hinting that maybe he's going to make a run back in the UFC, or maybe he might have even shown up at this prior year's WrestleMania. I think there's a lot of people who want to see him and Bobby Lashley, but the people I talk to say, well, they don't know that Brock has the love of wrestling the way, Randy Orton last week did. Perhaps he is just a guy who's out there wrestling for money. And I don't know, the whole New Japan thing, you and I need to do a whole show on that sometime. I think the match you're talking about took place in 2007 between you two, and he had been working for New Japan since 2005, but that is obviously the reason this whole lawsuit is there. Let's switch to MMA for a moment, though.
Yeah.
Did he ever express any sort of interest to you that, hey man, I'm going to take my amateur wrestling skills, I'm going to put it in a cage?
Well, the last time I spoke with him, and this is before New Japan, was right before he quit to try out for pro football.
Right.
And he told me that he was considering, trying out for pro football, and he was also considering UFC. And he didn't know which one to pick, but he decided to do pro football first. And, that was his option. He was going to do what he was going to do. But I knew eventually he would end up trying for UFC. And I was surprised it took him this long, because I believe that was at least 4 years before he got into UFC. And, when I was in Japan wrestling him, I knew he was working a deal with the UFC at that particular time to come in. So him and Dana White were already in talks about him going to UFC.
Hey, it's Conrad Thompson. Thanks for checking out the podcast here on YouTube. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notifications bell so you get a notice anytime we upload some new content. And go save yourself some money right now. If you're in a 30-year loan or you have credit card debt, it's not a matter of if I can save you money. It's a matter of how much. Find out right now for free at SaveWithConrad.com.